Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for being here. If you're a new viewer, welcome to my channel and I hope you'll enjoy the video. So this video is for the full moon in Cancer, which is in a couple of days. I feel like this year is moving quite fast already. We're all sort of getting back to work and the children will be back at school in a couple of weeks. I am actually glad to have had a bit of a break because I felt like 2024 was a really tough year. I think it was the first time in my life when I got to midnight on New Year's Eve and felt really glad that a year was over. So I was definitely over 2024, that's for sure. Well, anyway, let's get on with this video. As always, I'll take a look at the astrological chart first, and then I'll look at the tarot spread for the full moon. I can usually see connections between the two, but if you're not interested in the astrology at all, please just skip through to the tarot section. The timestamps for each section will be in the description box. Now, before we start with the astrology, let's just do a quick love pause. This is where we pause the video and send some love out into the universe. Another option is to just do a Ho'oponopono prayer, which is where you say the 4 sentences. Thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, and please forgive me. Anyway, I hope you will join me in the love pause, and thanks to everyone who does. So the time to pause is now, and I'll see you all on the next slide. Alright, so here we are with the full moon chart with the details highlighted. So the full moon axis is shown in purple. Now the moon is at 23 degrees of Cancer towards the bottom of the chart, and the sun is at 24 degrees of Capricorn up the top. Now the moon actually rules Cancer, so it's in its element, so to speak. I feel like this makes this full moon a time of heightened sensitivity and intuition. We can also see that the moon here is conjunct Mars, which is retrograde in Cancer. So that to me is suggesting this full moon might also involve some tensions, in particular because Cancer relates to the 4th house, which is about home and family. Now Mars doesn't do too well in the sign of Cancer, and the fact that it's retrograde as well makes it even more challenging, particularly acting internally, I suppose. Now in terms of other aspects, there are definitely some favourable aspects coming in from the outer planets because Neptune and Uranus are both involved. So Neptune in Taurus is highlighted in a cyan sort of colour, and it's trining the sun and sextiling the moon. So Uranus is down around 7 o'clock on this chart. And that would be, so Uranus and Taurus would be about shocks or surprises in relation to our material lives. But with this being a favourable aspect, I guess there might be some nice surprises here. Now Neptune in Pisces is highlighted in that same sort of cyan shade at about 9 o'clock on this chart, and it's trining the sun and sextiling the moon. So Neptune in Pisces is obviously much more about the spiritual and mystical, and I actually love that there is a trine to this moon at this time because, as I said before, we're more sensitive and intuitive at this full moon, and I feel like that's going to mean that we are able to connect more strongly with Neptune's energies than we normally would be able to. And that might mean we are able to gain a bit more understanding about the spiritual guidance that we're receiving. Now Saturn in Pisces is here at about 9:30 on this clock in light blue, and it's conjunct Venus in Pisces. And these energies are squaring Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, which is also shown in light blue at about 6:30 on this clock. The Saturn-Venus interaction is definitely dominating over Jupiter in Gemini. And so this suggests our divine feminine side is aligning with our spiritual values. And that means that we'll be creating and nurturing the things that matter to our soul. Now, Jupiter in Gemini can obviously be about an overactive, anxious mind, but it's being overridden here. Now, Venus is also in a trine with Mercury in Capricorn, which I've highlighted in pink at the top of this chart. And I like that Mercury is finally direct and out of Sagittarius. So Capricorn is cardinal earth energy. So Mercury in this placement can actually help with initiating changes in the physical realm, which is really good. So that's a nice little dynamic between Saturn and Venus being in this sextile with Mercury. So that's good. I've highlighted in yellow the nodal axis, and we can see here the north node is at 0 degrees of Aries, and that feels fairly significant. So firstly, that means the north node is pretty much finished in Aries, and it will move into Pisces Virgo next. The nodal axis will, sorry. And I'm sure we'll soon discover what that axis feels like. It will definitely be different from the axis we've been in because Aries and Pisces are they're vastly different in their energies. I think in the Pisces placement, we're going to have to operate more from a place of trust and surrender more into the flow of life. The Aries placement, on the other hand, was really about taking charge and making things change in our lives. So the shift is going from quite a strong masculine or action-orientated kind of energy into something much more feminine, intuitive, receptive. So that's going to be quite a shift. Pisces is also related to dreams and visions, so I can see it being about divine inspiration. So that's all very positive, but Pisces does have a problematic shadow side, which is to do with escapism, which might mean that you get lost in things that are pleasurable and potentially addictive, or you can get lost in sort of victim consciousness. So this is where you see things as, not having worked out for you, rather than accepting that you are actually responsible for your own choices and that every decision you make has consequences. So that means obviously that the problems you're facing right now might be the consequences of past decisions, but it also means that you can influence the future with the decisions you make in the present. So the power's always with you. And this is funny, but I don't know if you guys watch children's movies, but I did go to see a couple of movies with my children in the school holidays, and this theme actually came up in both of them. So we watched Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and there's very much a message in there about how it's your choices that make you who you are, and it's not what you've experienced in life. And the other movie we watched was Mufasa, where Taka, who we know better as Scar, obviously starts the movie. He loves Mufasa as a brother, and then he turns against him later purely because the lioness Sarabi fell for Mufasa instead of him. And of course, unrequited love isn't a reason to turn to the dark side like Scar did. He could have just accepted that it wasn't meant to be with Sarabi, and he could have put that behind him, or he could have moved away from them as a couple. Either of those options might have led Scar to a happier future, but instead he chose to stick around and become quite spiteful and vindictive and evil, to the point where he's trying to kill his nephew and then eventually does kill his brother. So, you might not be a Lion King person, but I feel like the message here is to not become Scar. So, understand that life doesn't actually owe you anything, and if you want to be happy, you have to make good choices that will lead you there. So if one door closes, look for the other door or the window that's going to lead you in a new direction. So the universe will show you what isn't meant for you, but it will also lead you toward new possibilities. And that's sort of what I meant with this North Node in Pisces, that you really need to be able to trust and surrender. So if something isn't meant for you, just graciously let that go and trust that something else will come along. I should also say that this North Node is sextiling Pluto in Aquarius, so the Pluto energies are definitely working with the North Node right now. So there will be themes of endings and transformations with respect to our North Node. And actually that reminds me of the other point I wanted to make earlier, because I totally forgot to say it. But even though the North Node moves in retrograde, it's moving through the first degree of Aries and the last degree of Pisces right now. So those degree points basically represent the beginning and the end of the zodiac wheel. So they're both powerful degree points that carry the energies of beginnings and endings. And it's funny that I was thinking about how the North Node is moving from a new beginning energy retrograde into an ending energy. And I just had the lyric, every new beginning is some other beginning's end. I think that's Closing Time, the song Closing Time. And that takes me back to the 90s. And thinking of the lyrics of that song, I am actually feeling like it could be quite relevant to the energies of this North Node transit. So you might want to check that song out. I'm definitely going to put that on the SJ playlist because it's a good song. So thanks, Spirit. And before I move on from the North Node, just one more thing. You can see it's getting closer and closer to an exact conjunction with Neptune and Pisces. So there's definitely a lot going on with the North Node at the moment, and you might be feeling that as well. So that would probably show up as powerful urges to shift your life in more meaningful directions. With that song Closing Time coming up, I'm definitely thinking of cycles completing. And I guess full moons are also about cycles completing and releasing things. So maybe at this full moon, it is time to let go of whatever is on its way out of your life. We have Chiron here again, and it's direct now. It's still in opposition to Lilith. So I did speak about this, I think, maybe in the last lunar video, I'm not sure, but I've spoken about it before, so I probably won't go through that again. But all of that means we're done with the astrology section. So next up, we'll just take a look at the tarot spread that showed up for this full moon. Okay, so here are our cards. if you're interested in the decks I've used, I'll have them listed in the description box. And I just, like, as soon as I looked at the spread, I saw the keyword closure. And that's really resonating strongly with something that came up in the astrology. So if you didn't watch that section, I got the song closing time come up, and here we have closure. So in terms of my process, I tend to pull the cards early. So I think I photographed this spread for the full moon last week sometime, and it's only now that I've imported this image into this presentation that I remember that this card was in there. So that's an incredible synchronicity there. Now, with this being the full moon in Cancer, I felt guided to the Queen of the Moon Oracle, which has the High Priestess image on the box. Now, the High Priestess card is obviously ruled by the moon, and it's about someone very intuitive. We didn't actually get the High Priestess card in this, but I do feel like we're going to have some strong intuition at this time, at this full moon time, and we need to trust in that. But anyway, this deck is the deck that kicked off the spread, the Queen of the Moon Oracle deck. So I feel like that Oracle card will have a significant message as well. Anyway, I'd better get to the process that I normally follow, which is to start with the tarot spread. So at the bottom of the deck, we have the Maiden of Wands card, which is actually the Page of Wands. So this is the energy of an adventurer or explorer. So the Page of Wands is the kind of person who's excited by what's out there. They get excited about the possibility of new experiences and adventures. So with this energy at the bottom of the deck, this is definitely the energy we're being guided to be in. So the future might be uncertain because we got in the astrology, there's maybe a lot of endings and beginnings going on. So the future might be uncertain, but instead of feeling worry or anxiety in relation to that, we really should try and get into the attitude of, I'm really excited about what might come next. So this card has Sagittarian energy. And when you think about Sagittarius, it really does have a confident and optimistic sort of outlook. So I can see this as someone saying to the universe, hey, where's my doorway? I'm ready to go somewhere new. I really want to go somewhere new. And the idea of new doors or new windows appearing for us also came up in the channeled message in the astrology section. So that's interesting. There's also a fox on this card, and that makes me think of the kind of confidence that comes from one's own intellect and instinct and experience. So it's giving me that sense of, well, I'm not afraid because it's not my first rodeo. And maybe that's indicating that even though we tend to think of pages as young energy, this is not a young page that we're talking about. This seems like a mature person who's embracing that Page of Wands vibe. Now, the card in the past present position is actually the King of Pentacles. So that definitely confirms we're dealing with a mature energy. So that's saying to me that for the collective that is here, you're coming from a place of great stability. And I always think of Taurus energy with the King of Pentacles, which is fixed earth energy. So this is a king who has built himself up to a situation where he's got a lot of material security. He's very stable. And I can see that it actually, because it's the King of Pentacles, I can see that it's a big shift and a big energetic shift for someone to go from that fixed earth kind of energy into that mutable fire energy that we have with the Page of Wands. So for fixed earth to become something more fluid, it actually takes something like a tower event to shake things up and loosen things up. And maybe even a series of tower events because, like I said, fixed earth is very, very stable. So it takes a lot to get that moving. So this King of Pentacles, I'm going to say, has definitely had to experience a few shake-ups. And maybe these tower events related to things that this king had actually built and established in the past. And those things came to perhaps an unexpected ending. And I don't think that's saying that the King of Pentacles isn't the King of Pentacles anymore because, as I said, this archetype is very solid. So I still feel like they're okay. And I'm also seeing the bear in this image, and that's actually making me think of the bear in Lenormand cards, which actually has this very similar energy to the Emperor card in Tarot. So this King of Pentacles is a very strong person, and with the symbols on this card, the pentagram and the triquetra, they're also someone who's very connected spiritually. And that just made me think, Oh, this is taking me back to the astrology again. But it's making me think of when Mufasa's telling Simba about the circle of life, because that's suggesting this king is actually a lot like Mufasa in his energy. So he's a very powerful king, but he's also very humble and grounded at the same time. So I'm feeling like getting back to these tower events, there were some dramatic life changes happening to this king, or that did happen to this king. And so maybe their business was affected, or their career was affected, or maybe it was a personal relationship, a marriage that ended. So something got taken away that previously contributed a lot to their sense of stability. And so when this event or events took place, this king felt destabilized by the events. So this is like someone losing their job or losing their home and half their assets in a divorce. So they go from feeling very secure to not feeling quite so secure. And that's really a subjective feeling in terms of this king, because this King of Pentacles energy is someone who was doing exceptionally well in life. So this might be, I don't know, for an example, if someone started off with a net worth of 30 million and then they lose, their mansion and 15 million bucks in a divorce, and obviously they're still fine. They still have $15 million to reestablish their lives with, but to them it would feel like a significant loss because it's a vast empire that they built, and they lost their home as well. A more relatable example for us normal folk might be someone who loses their job, but their kids are grown up and they already own their home and mortgage free, and they have other investments. So the job loss is a significant hit, but they're not actually going to be in a desperate situation where they have nothing. And that's really because they are the King of Pentacles and they've built themselves such a solid foundation. So even if some of the walls fall down, the foundation is still really solid and it's strong enough for them to just rebuild whatever they lost. So they're very capable of that. And as King of Pentacles, they know that they're capable of it, and they know that they can rebuild. It's basically because it's all stuff they built before. So they did it themselves before and they can do it themselves again. And to become the King of Pentacles, they had to work hard, they had to be dedicated, they had to be resourceful. And so to rebuild whatever they've lost, they just need to apply themselves in the same way again, and they will just get back to where they were again. And we actually see that right there in the present position, because we have the Eight of Pentacles, which is about someone working in a really dedicated fashion. So they're actually back to being in the exact same energy that made them become the King of Pentacles in the first place. So they got knocked down, but they got back up again, and you're never going to keep them down. So the 90s are back, you guys. And I actually, because I write my channeling, I actually at this point decided to go and look up the years of these songs. So Tub Thumping was from 1997 and Closing Time was from 1998. So that's a very tight period. Maybe those years are significant for someone who's here. What were you doing in the late 90s, guys? That's an interesting question, isn't it? I was a university student back then and I was loving my 90s music, clearly. Based on the demographic data I get about the people viewing this channel, some of you have probably been in that exact same position as well. All right, so this person here is now working away. They're working hard at regaining what they lost. And in the future position, we have the Two of Wands, which is the new door. That's the new doorway, you guys. So can you believe it? So they were asking Spirit for the new doorway, and it's here. So if this reading is resonating for you, I think you should also go and check out the last reading I did, because in these tarot cards we've got pentagrams, pentagons, metatrons, cubes, and those are here, and they were all there in the last spread as well. So that's too much of a coincidence as far as I'm concerned. Where they differ is that this storyline seems to relate to a very masculine energy, and that reading was a more feminine energy. So, yeah, and I'm also seeing that this Two of Wands card has two of the Metatron's cubes, where that previous reading only had one, and it actually only had the feminine polarity highlighted within that Metatron cube. So this reading has two Metatron's cubes fully drawn up. So masculine and feminine are both there in both cubes, and they're linking up in a Vesica Pesces configuration. So Vesica Pisces, can't remember how to say it. But because both polarities are in both Metatron's cubes, that's making me think of two, like the masculine, feminine, both being in inner union already. They've already got their masculine, feminine polarities in balance. And here they are in this divine union configuration. And of course, when you get that Vesica Pesces Pisces configuration, you actually get the cosmic womb being formed in the middle. So definitely this card is speaking of a powerful union that's creating the portal for something divine to be brought into being. That's amazing. Wow. And thinking about it, Metatron is actually related to the number 11, I believe. So with two Metatron cubes here, it's making me think of 1111. And if any of you resonate with the twin flame journey, this reading is definitely, speaking of twin flame union. I really wasn't expecting that at all, but the strong connection this reading has to the last reading is what has brought me to this conclusion. So, I just saw 1111 on this slide as well. The two wands on the two of wands, the two wands on the two of wands card actually make a number 11, and then just to the right of that, I've written 11 because that's today's date. And wow, it's actually 4:44 on the clock just now. So the number 444 is about angelic support. So I feel like Archangel Metatron just gave us complete confirmation on what I just channeled. So that's amazing. I also just noticed the crescent moons on these first two oracle cards. So facing left on the first card, and then they're all facing right on the second card. And actually at the bottom of the first card, we've got crescent moons again facing in opposite directions. So that's making me think of mirroring, which is also a word that I connect with twin flames. Now, in reality, left and right facing crescent moons are about waxing and waning crescents. And that fits with our reading because we have been speaking about beginnings and endings quite strongly. So the first oracle card is the waxing crescent. It's a number 7 card, and number 7 is a number that relates to the universe. It's a divine number. And this card is titled Nourishment. So the waxing crescent is obviously about what's growing in your life. So you are being divinely nourished is what I'm getting from this. So that's saying to me that the blessings are going to be flowing in and you just need to embrace them. The body language of this woman really says it all because the blessings are pouring down and she's saying, thank you, God, for all this abundance, So there's definitely a lot of abundance coming because look at how, rich and fertile that image is. Now, the next card has all the moons facing the other way. So we're going to call those the waning crescents, and that they speak of the cycles that are closing out in your life. And there's actually quite a few waning crescent moons in this image. So there might be quite a few things that are leaving your life, and closure is about letting those cycles close out. So don't cling to them, just let them pass into the past. Now this card is actually from a dream deck, and it's actually showing in the background there's a little path that's leading you home, and it's a lovely peaceful home that's up on this hill. So that's actually making me think of a home where you get away from the busyness of life and you can actually enjoy a bit of stargazing every night. So that's really lovely, and this might be one of those amazing blessings that is in your future. Now the last oracle card, I just noticed it's a number 11 card as well. So anyway, it reads that the time is right, and it has the message, seize the day and make progress on your soul path. So with everything that we've had in this spread, that 2 of Wands card is the doorway for you, and whether you're able to see it or not, when you step through that doorway, you're going to be on that path that is eventually taking you home to the place that you've always dreamed of. And looking closely at this card, I can see that there are 2 white pheasants in the background, and well, pairs of birds do remind me of love and partnership, and the colour white relates to purity, so I can definitely see those 2 birds as representing divine counterparts. So the union energy here is so strong. What a reading. I definitely wasn't expecting a twin flame reading when I started this lunar reading. But these are the cards and the messages that I've channeled. So there you are. It's a twin flame union reading. And so, yeah, here we are at the end of this full moon video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel, and if you could give the video a like, that would be really lovely as well. I'm always interested in people's thoughts, so please leave a comment if you feel like you want to. Now, if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for your support as well. Now, as I said earlier, decks are listed in the description box. If it's a deck that's available on Amazon, I've got some affiliate links that you can use to check those decks out. In terms of what happens when you click on those links, it should take you to your usual Amazon site. And because it's an affiliate link, if you click on the link and then you're purchasing the deck, then I might earn a small commission from Amazon, which is at no cost to you at all. Now, I think the link's only valid for 24 hours, so if you would like to take some time to think about purchasing the decks, you can just pop the item in your cart while you think about it, because I think that keeps it valid. And of course, if you don't decide to get the deck, you can just remove that from your item cart, and that's not going to be an issue at all. So if you are interested in using my affiliate links, there's more information again in the description box for you. Now, all of my older videos also have been updated, so the deck details are in the description box. So even if I don't mention that in those videos, do have a look in there if you're interested in looking at those decks or purchasing the decks. And that's it. Thank you all so much for staying to the end, and I hope that I'll see you in another video in the future. Thanks. Bye.